Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Let's have some fun. Story inspired by Kathy Kaur. Paul and Stephen both gladly accepted offers to work as retail assistants at Brannigan's department store. Although they were only shop jobs, they were in one of the best and most reputable stores in their area where employment was scarce. There, achieving success could mean the difference between a career and welfare. Paul did, of course, become angry at the time when he didn't land the highly sought-after computer job and began selling overpriced PCs to unaware customers. Stephen had received that honor and would undoubtedly earn a sizable sum of money in bonuses. No, for some reason, Paul had been assigned to fashion clothes. Paul thought, how boring, but a job was a job, so he couldn't moan. After returning the contract, he awaited the start of his new job. They chattered nervously in the staff room for the first few minutes of the first day. Like most workplaces with large staffs, the other employees ignored them. Finally, Stephen's new boss showed up and gave an introduction. He introduced himself and said, "You're Steve, right? Nice to meet you. Do you want to follow me so we can arrange your uniform?" So forth. Paul felt terrible. The worst part was that neither of them had ever worked a day in their lives. He was unable to understand how Stephen was chosen for the hip PC retail position over him. He pouted while waiting for his own manager, or should I say manageress, to arrive. She said, "Excuse me, I'm looking for a Paula Jones." "Well, if you're looking for a new starter, I'm Paul Jones. Never been called Paula before, though." He chuckled. The manager beamed down at her with contempt. Paul thought, "Oh my God, I never got the job in the first place." "Oh, there's been some kind of mistake, I think. Would you mind waiting there? If you're Paula, then there's going to be a problem." They had clearly misread names and sent him the job offer by error. It makes sense that he was given the fashion department because Paul Jones, not Paula Jones, was given the job. He sagged in his chair in humiliation. He would soon be asked to leave the building and would return without a job. What else might go awry? Kim, the manageress, soon reappeared with a slightly less severe expression. "I spoke with personnel and they informed me of your special conditions of employment, and looking at you, I see what they mean. Did you bring a bag?" "It's okay," she said. "You're Paula, if you see what I mean." What circumstances, he wondered. "No, I mean, did you bring—" "Oh, well, it doesn't matter. You won't be able to go out onto the shop floor today in that case. Come, let's get you signed up for your uniform." Kim took him off to the stock cupboard, where she started looking through some large boxes. "No, I thought I could put anything I got in a locker." She had given him a form to fill out acknowledging receipt of the various goods. He gave it a perplexed glance. There were various boxes with various clothing items that could be issued, including women's uniforms like skirts, blouses, and dresses, as well as shirts, ties, and trousers for men. The problem was that the manager had indicated on the form that he was to receive 2 skirts, 2 blouses, and 2 dresses. Surely a mistake was made. He hesitated to sign for a brief period of time and anxiously awaited the delivery of the first item. It was packaged in clear plastic when it arrived. Although it appeared to be made of dark blue cotton, he wasn't certain if it was his pair of pants. The same was true for the following packages. Without opening them, they could have easily been either shirts or blouses. Paul made an effort to accept the idea that he was acting a little paranoid, like they'd force him to wear a skirt. Then horror struck. It was the Brannigan's standard issue dress in the final 2 packages, wrapped or not. The manageress herself was wearing it, so he immediately recognized the print on it. He received the thin, lightweight jacket that all the female staff members wore, not the thick, heavy one that the men wore. Paul remained standing in shock. Was this a joke of some sort, a test, involved in the interview? "Where do you want to put these, exactly?" he uttered. "Of course, in your locker. Where else?" she answered. "Is this my uniform, though? What does it say on your form?" I wondered. 2 dresses, 2 skirts, and 2 blouses. What you have is that. Have you read the document, but why am I required to wear a skirt? The dress or a skirt and blouse are required attire for all female staff members. Unfortunately, it's against company policy. But there are no buts. If we permitted you to wear trousers, we would also have to permit all of the girls to do so, and where would that leave us? I recognize that, but did you know that I am a man? I can't dress up. People will say, what now? Look, Paul, I know that deep down you're really a man, but I must say, we almost didn't give you this job. With that face and body of yours, we knew that our customers and staff would think that we'd let a woman wear trousers, and we can't have that. What? Are you saying that I resemble a girl? Do you really mean that? Look, it's okay if you don't want the job. We only want Paula Jones, though, if you do want the position. We'll make sure you have no trouble adjusting. All you need is a little makeup, some fake breasts, and a nice haircut for your already very long hair. Is there no alternative? I can't possibly look that girly, can I? But in actuality, he did. Paul had soft, delicate features, large eyes, and high cheekbones. He had a soft voice and was quite small and underbuilt. He attempted to hide it by dressing incredibly masculinely, but it rarely succeeded. He frequently encountered accidental miss or she or her referencing. I'm sorry, but you do. You'll start a riot if we let you on the shop floor wearing a men's uniform. The other girls will dislike you because you're getting away with it, despite the fact that the staff is aware of your true gender. I know it sounds ridiculous, but really, over 200 women and girls work here, and despite wearing these clothes continuously, it doesn't seem to harm them. Really, it wouldn't be that bad, would it? Paul gave it some thought before deciding to accept the job. He reasoned that if he got his foot in the door, he could worry about getting out of wearing a dress later. At the time, he desperately needed a job, and he believed that once she actually saw him trying to dress as a woman, she would forget the whole thing. Paul had not even glanced at the uniform they had given him as the first week came and went. He had only completed extra training up to this point, which consisted of getting his hair cut and learning how to put on makeup under the pretense of learning how to sell the hair and beauty products the store carried. He had to use the home leg waxing kit soon after, and then he moved on to more pretentious items like fake eyelashes, false nails, hair accessories, and the fascinating world of hosiery. Paul believed himself to be fully knowledgeable about these feminine products by the end of the week. He was able to apply makeup, style his hair, and pretty much do everything a typical woman could. He did a double take when he put the makeup on for the first time. He was genuinely astounded by what he saw. The store's 1-hour processing took place after the manager took some pictures with a disposable camera. After that, he was shown a photo of himself or herself. That had to be a girl, without a doubt. No man could look that good, right? It was so good, in fact, that it appeared as though they had attached her head to a man's body. And the absence of breasts and the clothing were the only indicators that it was a man's body. In an effort to avoid Stephen during lunch, he had yet to inform him of his situation. So what did he have to say? He already had curls with highlights in his hair, had his eyebrows waxed, had his beard electroized, and lost all of his body hair. Even without the beauty regime, Stephen must have looked like a sissy because he didn't seem to notice much. Now, all that was needed was a weekend to purchase a pair of 3-inch heels and practice walking in them before he began his life as a female employee of Brannigan's. Paul's experience purchasing the shoes was somewhat traumatic, as you might imagine. The assistant was perplexed when he arrived because she thought a woman was wearing men's clothing. Was it a boy, or... She paused before asking. Paul blushed and asked, "Can I help you, miss?" He must have had new hair at the time. The assistant paused. Since the customer didn't correct the miss, it was decided that female shoes would be appropriate. "Yes. I need a pair of shoes for work. They must be fairly fashionable because I work at Brannigan's." "What shoe size are you?" "I think I'm a size 6 the last time I checked," she replied. "Well, right now, 3-inch heels are in. Do you want to try these on?" Paul's small shoe size caused him to feel both embarrassed and relieved. He took off his sneakers so he could try on the shoes the assistant was busy putting together. She put the first shoe on his left foot while seated. He immediately became aware of how small and constricted they felt in comparison to his regular shoes. They gave his foot a tiny appearance. Paul was embarrassed as the assistant quickly slipped on the matching shoe. She suggested, "What do you think? Why don't you take a stroll around?" Then Paul said, No, that's okay. I'll take them. They're really nice." To which the shopkeeper replied, "Are you sure? There's a lot of other pairs you could try." "No, that's fine. How much?" He then had to purchase new underwear for himself. He rushed into a store without thinking and quickly tried to choose something. First, he discovered a Wonder Bra in size 36C and corresponding underwear. He didn't care that they were uncomfortable, pointless, or small. Instead, he bought 5 sets of each, along with a suspender belt and nude stockings. He hadn't quite accepted the fact that he would have to wear these items every day, but he was aware that his sense of manliness was suffering greatly. After an embarrassing week spent among women, all he had to look forward to was a weekend spent in high heels, followed by years spent donning skirts and dresses. He had the realization that even if he rose to management, as long as he continued working at Brannigan's, he would have to go by Paula rather than Paul. He would be destroyed if it ever emerged that he was actually a man. He also realized that since Paula was employed by them, his reference would also refer to her when he left. This would make it appear as though Paul had never held a job, and as a result, he would be required to use her name whenever he applied for employment. Paul immediately put his shoes back on after arriving at his house. He planned to save the other items of clothing for Monday morning. Once more, he was astounded by how small they made his feet appear, but that wasn't the issue at hand. Rather, he was unable to move in them. So he practiced constantly until, by late Sunday night, he was relieved that he would be able to walk to work on Monday. The following morning, as soon as Paul opened his eyes, he began to perspire nervously. He knew what he needed to do, but he wasn't ready to face it just yet. He removed a bra, a pair of underwear, and a pair of stockings. He put on the panties first. They were quite different from his sweaty boxers in that they felt delicate, tiny, and very feminine. He then put on the bra without any apparent reason. Although it was initially difficult, he was able to fit the soft breast forms and fasten the straps. He could feel the weight pressing against his chest and the pressure on his shoulders and back. The outcome was conclusive. The stockings and suspender belt came next. He carefully rolled the stockings' nylon up each leg, securing them to the tiny tabs. Even though he immediately realized they were uncomfortable, his legs sure did look feminine while they were on. He noticed a girl in her underwear when he looked in a full-length mirror. Paul went to his closet to take the last few pieces of clothing out. Already he was experiencing very strange sensations. His entire body was under pressure, forcing him to stand straight with his shoulders back. He dreaded contemplating the consequences of the remaining items. Initially, the blouse. As he passed his arms through the sleeve, there was a slight swooshing sound. He observes that it is buttoned incorrectly, and to make matters stranger, he had to button around his breasts. It was obvious that he would need some time to adjust to constantly having these things protrude from his chest. He knew it was the ultimate symbol of female submission. Then came the skirt, the moment he had been dreading ever since he read the words on the form. He was about to join the ranks of those who had forgot freedom of movement in favor of appearances. For thousands of years, it had been used as a means of restraining and controlling women. As a woman, he was now aware that this would change the way he sat, stood, walked, and kneeled down, as well as provide him with no protection or simple means of escaping in the event of an attacker. Men would ogle him. It was now his turn. He carefully stepped into it and raised it over his hips. He could tease the small patch of exposed skin where the nylon of the stockings and the silk of the lining made contact. It was buttoned at the back, leaving an immaculately smooth front surface that reached just above the knee. In a way, Paul wasn't disappointed because this was the big one. It seemed to go with his underwear in some way, but he felt spring-loaded and as though any second all of his clothes could fly off. They carried no weight at all. All he could feel was the tug and pull of the stockings and the bra. He was unable to feel the skirt or blouse hanging. He put on his heeled shoes at last. After a few steps, he realized that the heels, stockings, and skirt forced him to move slowly and delicately while swinging his hips. He continued without pausing to put on his makeup, which was challenging due to his trembling hand, and then did his hair into the lovely curls that his boss had loved so much. 2 tiny stud earrings, a few rings, and a tiny silver necklace were the finishing touches. Once he saw himself in the full-length mirror, he lost his balance and fell to the ground, buckling at the knees. He found it hard to believe. He truly had a girl's appearance, completely and entirely female. He said, "Oh my God, I really am Paula Jones. I'm a girl." And then, in a strange trance, started gathering all of his male clothing into a big pile. After gathering everything into a black garbage bag and making sure there was not a shred of male clothing to be found, he went outside into his backyard and set the entire area on fire. Paul suddenly realized how foolish it was to have allowed himself to be carried away by a fleeting moment of complete self-defeatism as the clothes finally burned out. And now that he was out of money and had no hope of ever going back to living like a man again, Paula stepped outside her door and started the short walk to work, exclaiming, "I'm stuck as a woman now. I'm going to end up being a woman for the rest of my life." Nearly all signs of manhood were gone by this point. In addition to the breeze between her legs, she felt the looks of the men she passed. Without making any further complaints, she arrived at work. "Glad to see you've changed," the manager remarked. "In fact, Paula, how about doing one of our catwalk shoes? There's one dress I know you'll look gorgeous in." Paula merely grinned and concurred. While at work, she also chose a lovely casual dress to wear that evening when she went home. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.